everyone. Just sliding that audio right up. Before we start, of course, let's acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we live, create and learn on today, paying respects to elders past, present and emerging. Now, welcome everyone to Adobe Live APAC, and welcome, of course, to our guest, Bill Hope. How are you doing today, Bill?
Very well. How are you doing, Joanna?
Pretty good. We've spruced up the place with some festive lights, and are ready to kick on with a super festive stream. Without much further ado, I also wanted to say hi to everyone in chat. So hi, Flynn. Flynn is back, everyone. He is back
Flynn.
modding. Yeah, whoop whoop, party time. He's back modding for us. So that is him in the chat. He'll be providing you with any links that you might need, and also copy pasting over your questions over to me as well. So before we get started, if you have any questions about what we're doing today, or questions for Bill specifically, feel free to ask them in chat, and I'll pass them on and we'll get to as many as we can. But without further ado, Bill, how about you wrap up this intro and get into the recap?
Sure. So we did a stream on Tuesday and we're back here today, and we're going with a Christmassy theme, as I'm sure you have already noticed. So this is the illustration that we were working on Tuesday. So we've got a little elf down here pulling along this big old reindeer who is carting along this giant present in the sled. For any eagle-eyed viewers who tuned in on Tuesday, you might see that I've done a little bit of touching up on this picture. I added a little bit more lighting and finessed some of the coloring. And the other thing I did was drop in a bunch of Christmas trees in the background there. I was just saying to Joanna before we jumped on that I've done a bunch of Christmas jobs in the past, and something I've started doing, because you sort of end up drawing lots and lots of Christmas trees, is building up libraries of different Christmassy kind of assets that I can reuse if I need to. I try and not reuse assets in any obvious way where you're just sort of duplicating your work, but with something like this where it's sort of a bit fuzzy in the background, I think it's fine. I think it's fine to reuse some elements. And the way that I do that is, if I've made myself a little Christmas tree or a tree that I like, all I do is I drag and drop it into the libraries tab, which I've got over on the right here. So I've got all these different projects where I've been building up different assets. So this was for a book called Where's Santa's Elf? And you can see I've got candy canes that I can pull in, and I've got festive bows and all kinds of things. And I can basically drag and drop those whenever I need them into projects. And it seems a bit labor intensive, but over a couple of years, you end up with these amazing libraries of things that you can use, which speeds things up. Anyway, but today what we were hoping to work on was making a Christmas wrapping pattern. Okay, we've got this big picture here, but it would be great if it had some decoration on it. And we're going to use a function within Photoshop called Pattern Preview, which really helps with this kind of stuff. And we're hoping to also make it a collaborative project. So I'm hoping to get some suggestions from the audience. I'll start sketching up some Christmas-themed objects and items, and then we're going to sort of coalesce them all together into a Christmas wrapping paper design. I'll show you a couple examples of what I mean. I'll just flick across to some other illustrations. Oh, zoomed right out there. This was a big illustration I did for one of the books that I was working on, and this was Wrapper's Delight, which was a room full of different wrapping papers. So you can see there's all kinds of different designs that I've made and then imported into this illustration. So we have the bad pun necessary rap battle going on over here. We've got two competing elves rapping away. I'm sorry, Joanna.
Like, that's it, ending the stream right now.
I am done.
No, that was great.
Yeah, so that was a really fun picture using lots of different designs like that. That's our blank canvas. This was another design which was for a Easter book actually, but was kind of a how to draw this rabbit character, but I developed it into a kind of repeating pattern that was used on the inside cover of the book. So that was another repeating pattern. So yeah, I'll show you how to put those together today. So if there's any questions about the process or just questions about illustration in general, please let me know. And if you have any suggestions for things to put into our Christmas design, also let me know. All right. So I've got here just I think it's 15 centimeter by 15 centimeter canvas, just with a white background. And we're gonna start sketching up some items. So while you're talking amongst yourselves, I'm just gonna get cracking and do a standard candy cane just to get us going.
Fantastic. And yes, just like Bill said, if you have any requests or ideas for what kind of objects or maybe even people should feature on this Christmas wrapping paper, please do let us know in the chat. We already have a lovely comment from Flynn saying that his daughter loves the rap battle page in that book.
Fantastic.
Now I wonder, is it your daughter or is it you, Flynn? You know, no need to throw her under the bus. But no, that was a wonderful, wonderful pun. And personally, I'm going to try to keep them at a minimum, because I know we can quite easily just have a pun-filled stream. But yes, no, that was a good one. And now actually a question from Flynn as well. So is it always 15 by 15, or can it be any square size to create a pattern? That's a good question.
It can be absolutely any size that you like. I've just decided on this as a kind of arbitrary starting point. It gives me just enough resolution to work on something that's going to be repeating, but whatever size you want, there's nothing necessary about 15 by 15 whatsoever. I think it is helpful though if it's a square, because it needs to tessellate nicely. So that's the one thing I would say.
Would you say that any sort of symmetrical object, so it could be a triangle or a circle, would work?
It depends how you're going about making it. For a repeating pattern, you can do anything that tessellates really. But the way that pattern preview works in Photoshop, it sort of just expands the current canvas that you have. So you can't make a triangular canvas in, I guess you could make a triangular artboard or something, but you can't make a triangular canvas in Photoshop. So we're sticking with rectangles. And I'll just show for anyone who hasn't used this feature before how it works. So it's very simple, but kind of amazing. So I've made our little candy cane here. What I'm going to do is this way of working works best with smart objects, which is a way of kind of taking information from a layer and preserving it as a object to use in various ways. And all you do is you right click on your layer, you say convert to smart object. That's all I'm going to do. And then I'm going to click view in the top panel and scroll down to pattern preview. I'm just going to click on that. It's going to give me a little warning. And now you can see I can zoom out of my canvas and the candy cane has been extended almost infinitely into the distance. And I can move my candy cane around and rotate it, and it will rotate and be duplicated all over. So I can sort of see what this would look like as a repeating pattern. So if I went and duplicated my candy cane, I could put them over here. They would be crossing over. I could make a really big one. I can do all kinds of things, and you start to see how that looks as kind of a repeating pattern. But we're going to try and do slightly more than just candy canes. We're going to try all kinds of things. So can you give me a favorite Christmas item or object, Joanna, that I can start illustrating into this?
Oh, favorite Christmas object or item? I would say a gingerbread cookie, and you can choose whatever shape or representation you like. And we do already have suggestions in the chat as well, which is excellent. Keep them coming, everyone, because Bill does draw very quick. He's very good at doing just that. So the more suggestions, I should say, you can throw at us today, the better. And we'll see how many Bill can manage in the time that we have. But many excellent suggestions of ornaments, snowflakes, and also just said, that's magic. And I couldn't agree more with the pattern preview.
Fantastic.
Very
Yeah,
cool stuff.
it's a really fun tool to play around with, and there's all sorts of ways of making repeating patterns not using a tool like that. But it's one of those great things that makes the whole process really flexible, and you can kind of try all sorts of different things and not stress so much about sort of getting it right the first time. You've got a lot more options there. Okay, so I'm going to quickly color in this happy gingerbread man here. I'll get some white icing going on top of him. I had a character in one of my Christmas books called Old Hasty Tasty, who was my favorite character, who was a gingerbread man who discovered one day that he was incredibly delicious and became super paranoid, and so just spends the time running through all the books in fear for his life that someone's going to eat him up.
Oh no.
It's a slightly tragic character, but the name Old Hasty Tasty just felt too good to be wasted. I was very happy with that one.
It's certainly an excellent name. And speaking of names, we have another name and face in the chat. Hello, Gareth, or Jello Gareth, mayhaps. A amusing typo that I, of course, now decided to point out for everyone. I apologize for that. I could not help myself as a fellow frequent typo maker myself. So Gareth, what we're doing today, and for anyone else rather, that has just joined in. See, there you go. Real life, folks. For anyone else that has just joined in, we are creating a wrapping paper pattern today with Bill Hope, and taking any and all suggestions for what should be included in this pattern. And fun heads up as well, after we've done making this, Bill, I think you're going to make this available for our audience to print out and use as well.
Yes, so get your suggestions in, because if I get sketched up, you'll be able to print it out yourself at Officeworks or whatever and use it in your own wrapping paper, hopefully. I did hear a mention before of a snowflake, so I thought I'd quickly do one of those. And there's actually an opportunity to show you another really fun tool within Photoshop, which they added a year or so ago to the drawing features, which is up here, which is called symmetry. So if you're using a brush tool and you've got your panel at the top, you drop down from the little butterfly, and there's a bunch of options for creating a symmetry grid. So I'm going to use one called dual axis. You can see is going to put a little square on the screen. And then if I get I'm just going to say, yes, that's correct, press enter. And I'm going to select my brush. And now when I draw, the drawing that I do will be duplicated across that axis. So something like a beautiful snowflake becomes much easier because the computer's going to sort of make up all the symmetry elements of it. And this is something that is great because basically whatever you draw comes out looking good because it gets anything that's symmetrical kind of translate as looking pretty nice. And it's a lovely way to make a snowflake.
Wowza! Oh man, if only I knew. See, I don't know if I'm going to be able to talk this stream, but we shall press on. If only I'd known this for Halloween, this also would make excellent spider web shortcut.
Yes,
for
sure. Very good for that.
I'll have to save up on them for next year.
Cool. So, were there any other suggestions that I can start on?
Yes, we have a suggestion of ornaments.
Ornaments. Okay.
So we can maybe do a bauble ball.
We could do a bauble ball. I was telling Joanna before we got on the stream, I'm working on another page for another Christmas book, and this one's going to be sort of sports themed. It's going to be the Christmas games. So I've been thinking of all sorts of Christmas themed sports that I can put. Sorry, I'm just going to give this a happy smile because.
Oh, no need for apologies there.
What else are you going to do with this time? All sorts of Christmas themed sports that I'm putting in, and my favorite one that I've come up with so far was just called ball, which would just be soccer or football or something, but with a ball. So it's one of those things that's too fun to say to ignore. You just got to go with it sometimes. All right, so I'm going to drop a bit of color into our little bauble friend here. Isn't there a bomb character from Mario that's called like Bob-omb or something?
Yes, there
Similar
is.
kind of vibe. I just find that challenging to say.
And Flynn, if you are picking up what we're putting down, please feel free to send a link to that character in the chat as well, so the good audience can know what we're talking about.
All right, I'm just going to add a little bit of quick decoration to our bauble friend here, and it's going to be nice and shiny, so I'm going to put a couple little highlights on it, maybe a little bit of shade. Oh, okay, ignore that.
And I'm noticing now when you're adding color and shade that you're just doing a quick selection around the main line work as well, and just using that to speed up your workflow, so you don't have to go clean up all around the edge for each illustration.
Yeah. So I'm using the magic wand tool, and what I do is I just select outside the object with the magic wand tool, and it selects all the empty pixels, and then I'm pressing down Shift Command I, and that is inverse selection, so it selects the opposite, so it selects everything inside the line work, and then I just fill that with color. And that's just a really quick way to paint within the object. Let's put on pattern preview again, and we can start moving some things around. Okay, so you can see we've got a kind of rough pattern here, but once we start to fill it up and add a bit of scale to things, we should end up with something a little bit more interesting as we come along. What I might do is, for things like this, it's quite fun to sort of paint some kind of abstract shapes in that will join it all together. So you can see I'm going to start to draw a line. And the fantastic thing about this is that you can draw right out of the canvas.
Oh,
so you can see I'm just sort of leaving the canvas altogether and going off on my own direction. But you've already got some really, really fun repeating patterns coming there.
Yeah.
And actually, way back in the day, I remember I did make myself, here it is. This is my custom tinsel brush that I made.
Fantastic.
So you never know when you're going to need it. So I'm just going to make some little alterations to my tinsel brush, and then we can start painting some tinsel in.
Oh, that is great, and also perfectly timed, because one of the suggestions actually was to throw in some tinsel in there from Flynn. So great minds think alike, I reckon. And I was also just saying before we went live that I have a jumper that's basically, it looks like it's the embodiment of tinsel, but I decided not to throw that on for today, because it might have just been a little bit too warm, and it's not quite Christmas yet, so I'm trying to save it for December. And yes, Flynn, you did find the Bob-omb, which, what a name, fantastic, and posted a link to the Mario wiki there as well. But yes, chat, please feel free to keep the suggestions coming about what you want included in this wrapping paper. Are we going to say that they have to be Christmas related, or can they be like tangential? Could it be an object that has maybe Christmas clothing?
Whatever you like, whatever you like coming through. I'm just freestyling here. If anything else comes up, please let me know. I'm just going to work on this little sort of vintage candle holder.
Oh, wonderful. I actually have one quite similar to it, so that's great. Okay, if we have to... Not if we have to. I'm going to bring up another suggestion. If you can, make a mallard duck festive.
A mallard duck.
Flynn would greatly appreciate that.
Okay. What separates a mallard duck from your average duck?
It is brown, green, white. Has the yellow beak or bill, I think you would call it. And has like the sort of the white band necklace.
Okay.
On it. Flynn, I apologize if that is absolutely incorrect, but for undisclosed reasons, I have been looking at a lot of ducks lately, and hopefully I remembered it correctly.
You just keep that undisclosed. Love that you've been doing some secretive duck watching.
Yes.
It's like you're working for the Duck Secret Service. You've been deep undercover in the duck world.
If I told you, I'd have to do something about it.
All right, I'm gonna do a cute little duck here. Make it a Christmassy duck, of course.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah, we've just had a art directorial note from Flynn if the duck could be wearing a Christmas sweater.
Oh, okay, right, okay.
That would be fantastic.
I'll see what I can
just
do.
to make things easier for you.
Yeah, no worries. Let's start putting that in. Yeah, how would it kind of wear it on its wing? I guess it would need little arms coming off or something. Like we'll do some Christmassy patterns on it to make it sense. It's got to have some sort of
tinsel
baubles coming off it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic. This is reminding me a lot of the conversation of if a dog wore pants, would it wear it like humans wear pants, so just two legs, or would it wear it like horizontally, so each leg gets a pant leg?
Oh wow.
This is definitely channeling that conversation in this piece.
Sorry, I'm going to be thinking about that for the rest of the day.
You're very welcome, and I'm sorry. And on a similar Christmas sweater wearing note, we also have another suggestion from Manny of a cat wearing a Christmas sweater. And I suppose both cats and dogs have 4 legs generally. You could make the executive decision of whether the how the cat wears the sweater.
Okay. No worries. Well, let me try and get the colours done on this little duck, and then we'll be good to go on a Christmas cat.
Fantastic.
So we were talking about sort of Swedish Christmas tradition just before we came on the stream, Joanna. Can you give us an insight into any sort of particular Swedish Christmassy things that you do around this time of year?
Well, apart from just eating a lot of food, which I think is synonymous with most countries, one thing off the top of my head that I can think of is tomtegröt, which is Christmas porridge, or rather
Really?
Santa porridge is the direct translation, and it's basically I would compare it similar to like rice pudding. Where it is like porridge, or like oat porridge, but instead of oats, it's rice. So it's the it's kind of like a sweet risotto almost. So it is rice and milk cooked all together. So the rice, expands, it becomes fluffy and delicious. And you would usually serve that with some cinnamon and some sugar syrup as well, but it's like brown sugar syrup. And the tradition part of it comes that you make a massive batch and you serve it up to your family and friends, and in one bowl of Santa porridge is an almond. So it's one singular almond, and then the person who at the end of the sort of the meal, or the one person that then discovers like, oh, I've got an almond in my porridge, I believe they are then destined to get married within the next year.
Right.
Of course, it all comes back to holy matrimony. But
I had Christmas once in somewhere in France with my cousins. And I thought we had some weird Christmas traditions, but there was all sorts of things going on. There were special almond cakes that you had to eat, and one person had a ring hidden in their piece of cake, and if they got the ring, they were some sort of Christmas king, but then they had to sit under the table, and it was all very confused. I was a bit lost by the whole thing.
I mean, I'd hazard to guess that if I had a friend over and it was their first Swedish Christmas, I definitely would make stuff up.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna let you know I can't speak for the validity of all these claims or traditions, but yeah, that seems like the perfect time to be like, oh yeah, and then you sit under the table for the rest of the evening.
Oh, that's great. All right, so I'm going to start working on a little Christmas cat friend. So I'm going to do my best speedy cat. Something like so.
It kind of looks like it's wearing a hat because of the darker line up top.
Oh yeah.
That's great.
And it's got to be a big puffy jumper.
Yes. Wonderful. And just a heads up as well, we are soon approaching the halfway mark. So heads up for you, Bill, and also heads up chat if you have any questions or suggestions for what you want to feature on this wrapping paper. It could be color suggestions, it could be objects themselves, or maybe accessories. Please throw them in the chat. We will get to as many of them as we can. Yeah, let's keep the festive times going. I have a question for you, Bill. Mm-hmm. Do you have any Christmas traditions at home?
Well, we had a lot. I mean, because on my mother's side, we've got some German relatives, and my dad is English, so there's sort of a weird mix between sort of German and English, but also all sorts of kind of Catholic stuff thrown in there as well. So
nice.
So there was quite a sort of mix of Christmas tradition going on. Sort of the main one that made us different was we had something called St. Nicholas Day, which I think is a German thing, and it's obviously a sort of saint's day for the original Santa, St. Nicholas. But the tradition was that you had to clean your room and put your shoes, and then you had to polish your best pair of shoes and put your shoes outside the door of your room, and in the morning your shoes would be filled with chocolates and candy. And this, I think it's the 10th of December that would happen. But it was one of those things that we'd go to primary school all excited about St. Nicholas Day and trying to explain to people that we cleaned our shoes and put them outside our front door, and nobody would have the faintest clue what we were talking about.
Plus, I can just imagine you like rocking up to school and be like, guess what I did this weekend? I cleaned my fanciest shoes.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing's obviously a ploy just to get sort of your rooms cleaned by your parents. Absolutely. But totally fair trade-off. I was always happy with the arrangement. So yeah, it was all good.
Fantastic. And Flynn also had a wonderful suggestion, and I've been thinking about it for a moment of how easy I'm going to make it for you. But wondering if Bill can draw something from Swedish Christmas. So I'm going to give you the option to choose. Do you want something straightforward and simple, or do you want to play a bit of translation? So I say something, and then you have to, in Swedish, of course, and then you have to interpret what that is.
Yeah. Okay, no, let's do the challenging one. Okay, let's do the Swedish translation. Let me just quickly drop this cat. It's getting pretty busy over here, so we're having to sort of reorder some of our characters. Cat's looking good, but let's maybe bring him into an open space down here. And yeah, it's getting full on there, but it's looking good. All right, hit me with it. What's the Swedish word?
Okay, if you want, I have one hint that I can give you, if you want it. But the word is Janssons frestelse.
Any possibility of spelling that
out? So Jansson, which is J, so J-A.
Okay, I didn't even get the first one right. Okay, J-A, yeah.
N.
Yeah.
S.
Yeah.
O-N.
O-N.
And then apostrophe S.
apostrophe S. Sorry.
And
Yep. Yeah.
And then frestelse is F.
Yeah.
O with the 2 dots on top.
Yeah.
Actually, no. Apologies. It is A with the 2 dots on top.
Mm-hmm.
S-T.
Yeah.
E-L.
E-L. Yeah.
S-E.
S-E. Okay.
And I'm
Janssen
gonna double
yeah.
check the spelling, but do with that what you will.
Okay. I think what it is it's so let me just draw a hand in here. And it's a hand like so. Doing a rough kind of hand here, and the hand's coming in and it's holding a tiny little fork. It's just a little fork there, and the little fork is for removing individual scales off a piece of salmon, which is part of a Christmas dish. So we've got a nice piece of smoked salmon, and a Janssen Fasteler is the name for the tiny fork used for removing individual scales off a festive salmon.
Wow.
How correct was I? 90%? 95% correct?
I'm actually surprised that you got a couple of components. Now, first of all, I have to apologize. In my excitement, I did spell this wrong. So
that's probably where the mistakes will come out then. But if you can't give me a good direction to start.
It is, for the second part, it is F-R-E, and then the rest is correct. So if you just remove the A with the umlaut.
Okay.
And then just put R and E.
Right, okay. Well, that makes sense now. Okay.
There you go. So, Janssons frestelse is a dish, so you were correct. Also translates to Janssons temptation, because frestelse is temptation in Swedish.
Yeah.
And let's just bring up the ingredients list. It is a Swedish Christmas classic that makes a fantastic side dish for any winter feast. And it is primarily comprised of peeled potatoes, some brown onions, some anchovy fillets, and thickened cream and milk and breadcrumbs. So it's a potato bake with onion, olives, and anchovies, and it is fantastic. I didn't always used to love it, but now that I do, I really look forward to it during Christmas time. So with the fish, because of anchovies, you weren't actually too far off.
Not that far off. Wow. Okay, there you go.
Oh my goodness. See, this, I might even request to just get this part of the pattern, and I'm gonna frame it and put it up on my Christmas tree this year. That is fantastic.
Okay, cool.
We have had a couple of more suggestions. Because I think if I talk about Swedish food much longer, I'm going to be absolutely too hungry and too homesick. So let's move on from food. How about, here's a suggestion from YouTube, and a disclaimer: if you're watching on YouTube, hop on over to behance.net/live, because that is the chat that I'm mainly monitoring, and the chat where we're getting most of our suggestions from. But this one was too good not to do, and that is, of course, Krampus.
Krampus. Okay, so Krampus is the sort of like terrifying German monster Santa. Is that correct?
Yes, so Krampus, according to Wikipedia, is a horned anthropomorphic figure in Alpine folklore who during the Christmas scene scares children who have misbehaved.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
And assisting Saint Nicholas.
Okay. I'm actually going to cheat a little bit again, and I'm going to go back to the symmetry tool that we talked about previously, because I'm going to do a sort of head-on version of a Krampus here, and I'm going to save time by doing him both sides at the same time. So it's going to make it a little bit easier. But I'm going to start with a nice big set of horns here. I was actually just watching a little bit of the newer Disney Beauty and the Beast last night, so I've got a little bit of pre-horned reference here.
What a coincidence!
I know, it's crazy. All right, so we're gonna okay. We don't want him to look quite so demonic, maybe. I don't know. He's looking pretty scary right now. I don't know if this is going to make it onto anybody's Christmas wrapping. Look, we'll make him a little.
Make
cheerier.
it on mine.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got a good outline for our Krampus head there. So I'm just going to turn the symmetry off, and I guess his eyebrows are just really intense right now. So I'm going to remove one of those, and he's going to be more of a sort of quizzical Krampus. There we go. We'll give him a nice smile, so he's looking just a bit more devious than completely evil.
Yes, there we go.
So he's all kind of head there. I'll give him a little bit of a jacket. And so he assists Santa, is that correct?
Yes, so assisting St. Nicholas, the first of 3 good December figures, the other 2 being Santa Claus and Dead Moros. Anyway, the pair visit children on the night of the 5th of December, and St. Nicholas rewards the well-behaved children with modest gifts such as oranges, dried fruit, walnuts, and chocolate, whilst the badly behaved ones only receive punishment with birch rods. So,
oh my gosh. Okay, wow.
Goodness
me. Maybe this is Krampus walking it. He's creeping around on his little. I guess he's going to have little horsey. Like, is he kind of like a centaur?
I think he's half goat, half man, if I'm not mistaken.
There you go. And this can be his sack filled with birch, maybe, or whatever you want to put in there. Could just be muffins.
Yeah, let's make it the oranges and the dried fruit.
Yeah.
We've all been good this year, I'm sure.
Yeah. All right. That's great. I'd love to do a proper creepy Krampus. Maybe that'll be one of my festive drawings for this year.
That sounds great. And for those in the chat who want to check it out, I'm just posting a Wikipedia link to Krampus as well. I'm definitely going to be delving into that after the stream, because I recently listened to a podcast about the Goat Man. So this will be my homework from the stream today. But you mentioned before that it is getting a little bit cramped. Oh, haha, Krampus in the pattern. So my question to you now is, maybe it's time to have a look and see how we can reorder things, or sort of go into maybe your tips and tricks for making sure that a pattern doesn't look too stuffed, so to speak. Yeah,
good idea. Okay, I'll just finish up our Krampusy friend over here.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that fantastic suggestion from YouTube.
Yes,
he's really
Brian, 10 out of 10. And while you finish off our Krampus here, Flynn, I gotta tell you, Janssens frestelse is delicious, and I will certainly save you some this year. There are so many delicious foods at the dining table for Swedish Christmas, in my opinion. Some of them are acquired tastes, I will admit, but Janssens frestelse is you gotta try it.
I'm convinced.
At least once.
I think it sounds good.
Yeah, Flynn was saying in the chat, sounds great without the anchovies and the onions. But one day I will perhaps convince you, Flynn, that it is actually quite delicious.
Okay. Well, let's go back to our pattern preview and look at a very busy Christmas pattern now. And yeah, I think you're right. I think a little bit of finessing. So I'm hoping to get a little bit of assistance from your designer's eye. I don't know how much can be done to salvage the intensity of this one, but let's give it a go. I think maybe if I try and put some sort of bigger objects in there to sort of unify it a little bit more. So I'm just going to drop in just some kind of like maybe some big dotty shapes to kind of tie the whole thing together a little bit, maybe. I don't know. Have you got any suggestions here, Joanna?
I mean, this seems to be working wonders so far. I will also let you know and be super helpful that we have 15 minutes left to go today. And
I'd completely forgotten. We've got to apply this to our original picture at some point.
Oh, that is right. Of course.
Yeah. So there is
I had one job and I forgot to do it.
Okay.
But yes, for those of you tuning into the later end of this stream, we do have a massive present to put this Christmas wrapping all around, and maybe if we do a quick crossover to that, so we can see the big old present that we're wrapping.
Yes.
We can also take ideas perhaps of what this present actually is.
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea. Okay, I'm going to use my convenient snow brush to add a little bit of final texture on top. And all right, that's looking full on, but I like it. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how to export it, because this is pattern preview, so you can see what it looks like, but it doesn't actually give you an option to export the full pattern as far as I know, but happy to be corrected on that. But there's a easy way to solve this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all the layers that I have together. So I'm just going to hold down Shift and select them all. And I'm going to go convert to smart objects. So I'm turning all of those layers into one object. So that's slightly hindered our pattern preview, but that's okay. We're okay with this. I'm just going to turn off the pattern preview now. So we're just working with that one layer. But the great thing that's happened is that because we've organized in the pattern preview, the top and the bottom and the sides of this picture will align perfectly with each other, is the idea. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to copy and paste that. I am going to expand my canvas. So I'm just going to press C to bring up the crop controls. I'm going to just drag my canvas way out. And now, if everything goes to plan, I should be able to just grab that block that I've done and drag it over. And you can see it to the pixel perfectly lines up with itself. And we have a repeating pattern. So I'm just going to press that and do the same thing vertically. And we've got a beautiful repeating pattern. Do the same thing again. I'm going to merge. And we can just do this infinitely and continue to expand our beautiful wrapping paper. So I'm just going to do that one more time. Make sure it all lines up nicely. And there's our wrapping paper. So I'm going to shrink that down a little bit. So we've got a nice detailed version of it. And now I'm going to select the whole thing. Just Command C. I'm going to move over to our file with the giant present on it, and I'm going to Command V, paste it back in. And now what I'm going to do is I might convert that to a smart object so I can warp it without losing any information. And so I need to put one side of the wrapping paper on, so I need to put wrapping paper on either side, but I want to warp it to make it look like it fits nicely on this present. Because I've already colored the sides of the present, what I'm just going to do is I'm going to press W for my magic wand. I'm going to select that side of the present, and I'm going to make that a mask of the wrapping paper. So now what I can do is I can just drag that wrapping paper over, and it sits nicely inside our present. but I want it to fit really nicely. So what I'm going to do is something called perspective warp. So once I've got my transform controls up for that layer, I'm going to right click and there's perspective. And then you can see I can start to drag these little handles down and it's going to warp it to match the angle of the present. So I'm going to warp that a little bit. And then I'm going to do just the same process to the other side of the present. So same thing, going to make it a mask, drag it over. One thing I failed to do here, which was foolish, was match up the two sides of the, because I kind of want the wrapping paper to look like it wraps neatly around. So I'm just going to warp it to make sure it lines up with the other side. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Still got to do a little bit of warpy over here, so I'm going to do the same thing with perspective warp. And all right, again, I'm just going to need to make sure that lines up okay. Beautiful.
Fantastic.
And the last little finesse that I'm going to do that now that we've got our wrapping paper applied to our present is I'm going to select that mask and make an adjustment layer over the top of that where I'm just going to darken that side of the present, and that'll just give us a little bit more of a sense of the three-dimensionality of that. Actually, I might do the same to the other side, but the opposite. I'll just brighten it up a little bit. And voila, here we go. We have beautiful wrapping paper applied to our giant present. There you go.
Too easy.
The idea is what's in it. Too easy, that's all there is.
Yeah. Oh, goodness me. I mean, if this turned up at my doorstep, my whole year would be made for Christmas, because just thinking about what could be in this present is very exciting. But Chad, of course, if you have any ideas, what do you think is in here? Or what are you wishing for Christmas? That's also a good question. Let us know. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I had a armchair delivered from IKEA the other day, and it was probably the best thing about it was that it came in a box almost this size. It was fantastic. It was the biggest cardboard box I've ever had. It was brilliant.
Oh my goodness.
I should have wrapped it up. I just put one little bow on top of it because it was a present.
I could just proportionally, like, massive box, tiny little bow.
Yeah. That's the best you can do.
Oh, wonderful. Well, Ryan from chat, Ryan is the same Ryan who gave us the Krampus suggestion. Thank you so much. Confess that they're horrible at wrapping gifts and just use bags, which, as someone who is also horrible at wrapping gifts, I strongly relate, and I do quite the opposite. I make my family members suffer through my horrible gift wrapping because I think it's hilarious. But we can't all be as mischievous as me, fortunately. But Bill, how are you at wrapping presents? Would you consider yourself a novice, expert?
Definitely an amateur wrapper. I don't know. I think I find it sort of immensely frustrating watching someone slowly unwrap something. I think there is a 5-year-old inside me that thinks, just tear it off. Like, that's the best bit. That's the fun thing. You're ripping it apart. All this, like, I'm gonna peel each side off and save it. I mean, it feels like you're not taking advantage of the opportunity. So I think I like to wrap messily to give someone the best opportunity to tear it to shreds. As part of the opening process.
Amazing. I think when it comes to opening presents, I appreciate if the wrapping paper is really nice. So, for example, if I'd gotten this wrapping paper, or if I get this wrapping paper for my presents this year, I would want to save it or like preserve it. So I think with really, really lovely wrapping paper, I might disagree, but certainly with, the run-of-the-mill basic wrapping paper, is just like tear it to shreds. Like, let's go. This is all the year's aggressions into one little present. Poor thing, but it is one of the joys of the festive season. But how about, since we are near the end and looking at this wonderful, wonderful piece, I have a final question, I think, for yourself and for the audience as well. Is I'm very curious, what do you wish for Christmas?
What do I wish for Christmas? I think, to do absolutely nothing at all. This year has been maybe the busiest year I've ever had, and I'm very, very tired. So I'd like a break. But I think we were talking about in the last stream. I've started doing a bit of wood carving, and all I want to do is I want to finish up work for the year, and I want to get into the garage and mess about with some chisels and bang away at some things and make some little bits and pieces out of wood. So I would love to spend most of my Christmas in my garage, screwing about with some timber. So that's my wish for Christmas. What about you, Joanne?
Your Santa's workshop, as it were.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Oh gosh, I think for Christmas, really, and this is going to be super cheesy, but as I'm known to do, I'm going to bring the cheese. Is that I wish that I'll be able to go back home to Sweden and visit my family.
Is that a possibility? Do you think you'll be able to? Oh, next year you'll be able to fly
next
out
year,
to
yeah.
Sweden.
Not for this Christmas, sadly, but certainly next year. That is my big hope, that I'll be able to visit, because it's been too long, and I want to give them all a massive hug, and not let go for just a little bit, too long. So those wonderful, just
like
a little bit too
16
long
minutes,
hugs.
something
exactly,
like that.
Just like half an hour.
Yeah.
Let's go,
not
buddy.
Not too
In
long,
it for
but
the
a
long
good
haul.
16 minutes.
Absolutely. But without further ado, Bill, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you are able to wrap up your work quickly, tie it up with a bow, and get into your workshop for the holidays.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much for joining us.
No worries. It's been absolutely lovely. So thank you everyone who's watching, and thank you, Joanna, and congratulations again, Flynn. You're a champ.
Yes.
I will hopefully see you all at some point in the new year.
Absolutely, and hopefully in person as well. But thank you, everyone. We'll be back next week. As always, please do check out Bill across all socials. Flynn, if you would be so kind and post that link, that would be fantastic. Thank you, of course, to Flynn for your wonderful job as mod, and congratulations on your, early Christmas present, perhaps, with your baby boy. Wishing everyone a wonderful... See, I'm already, welled up in the Christmas spirit. But happy days, everyone, and we'll catch you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.